Good morning and welcome to the OCR Report's presentation of the 2024 DEKA FIT season opener, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. This is race 1 of 9 in the 2024 regular season. I am Xander Keene, happy to be joined once again by Luke Halterman for the majority of the season here, as we're just about 3 short months past last year's exciting World Championship in Dallas, and it's a quick turnaround for some of these athletes, but I think we're excited for a couple of competitive races here to kick things off in 2024.
Absolutely, Xander. I have worn my DEKA FIT World Championship medal every day since what we have deemed the WrestleMania of fitness last year at the DEKA FIT World Championship. So I've been more than enough excited and pumped and ready to go for the first race of the series. We have a lot of studs in the field. The women's field is fairly open, so we're going to see a lot of new faces make names for themselves today. So it should make for a very exciting race today, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you mentioned that men's field for a season opener. It's absolutely stacked. Again, this is still early. Some athletes are competing in other events as well, but we've got two guys who finished in the top 10 at World Championships last year in Joseph Cotto and Colin Stiefer. You've got some veterans who have maybe been away from DEKA FIT for the last year or so, and Robert Killian and Derek Yorick. Some other athletes stepping up from the age group ranks. Maybe they just missed out on qualifying for World Championships last year, but they're ready to give it a go here this season. Chaz Hatton, one of them, he won our age group, or at least what was our age group at the time, all 3 events at DEKA FIT World Championships. So he's in the elite field here. It's going to be very exciting. And then on the other side, in the women's field, you've got the world champion and then a lot of unknowns behind her. Morgan Schulz, ready to open her season here in Knoxville. Other than that, it's an opportunity for some athletes who maybe we don't know quite as much, we haven't seen quite as much here in the DEKA FIT arena, for them to step up, stick their nose in it, and see what they've got here in the season opener.
Absolutely. I'm excited for which woman decides to stand up today. You know, who's going to show up. We got Samantha Wood, who competed at the DEKA FIT World Championships last year. She very well could make the case for podium as well today. We got Emily Stevens stepping out, former Spartan Pro member. I believe this is her first DEKA FIT race, so she very well could be making a claim for World Championships this year. It's going to be exciting to see who's going to want to run with Morgan and showcase their skills today. As far as the men is concerned, it's great to have Robert Killian back, Derek Yorick back as well. The National Guard is showcasing their skills today at Knoxville, and it's going to be more than exciting to see what these guys have put in. Let's see what they've been doing. They've just been, AWOL for a while in the sport, so I'm excited to see where their fitness is at.
Yeah, big hat tip to Robert Killian posting about this is the 2024-25 trials for the all-guard National Guard endurance team. And so an exciting way for them to compete and try and earn their spot. It's a team that's going to then travel the country competing in various events representing the National Guard. A lot of the athletes in the women's field who maybe we haven't seen in DEKA FIT before, they themselves are representing the National Guard, and we'll see what they can do here in this exciting DEKA FIT event. Again, same format as we know and love, 10 stations, 500 meters of running between each one. And we'll see if some of these men can maybe, make a run at that sub 30-minute time that's only been achieved by 6 men to date, several of them in the World Championship last year. But, guys like Joseph Cotto and Colin Stiefer, they were within 5 seconds of each other at World Championships last year, finishing in 30-30 and 30-35. So you've got to think that they're ready with, a little bit more training under their belt, experience from that World Championship field. Now they get an opportunity to presumably, race at the front of an event and try and go for that time. And guys like Derek Yorick are going to take it out hot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Derek is very, very known for his footwork. He is probably the fastest man out of everyone there as far as speed is concerned and running abilities. That man has done it all, right? But obviously this event is much more than just running. It involves multiple functional fitness skills where Colin Stiefer and Joseph Cotto have just all the experience in the world. And I believe that this is going to be the race of the day is going to be between these two men just because they're so similar in fitness. Joseph is just so fast as well around the tracks to where he can catch up for Colin Stiefer on the stations, where I think that's where Colin's going to shine. Now, Colin's fitness level seems to have improved as of late, thanks to his high rocks times and all his other abilities that he's been doing. So I'm excited to see him kind of pull away maybe and get this potential win today.
And the exciting thing about DEKA FIT too is that athletes come into this sport from different directions. You just mentioned Colin Stiefer making great progress in high rocks, on the verge of qualifying for the World Championship coming up in a couple of months. On the other side, Joseph Cotto is a guy who made some noise in the Savage Race series last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a completely different type of thing. You've got, maybe a similar time domain, but high rocks, much more strength based, obviously indoor, just like DEKA FIT. Savage Race, very terrain outside, more technical obstacles, but the fitness can show in DEKA FIT regardless of which direction you come from.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And experience, I think, is what matters. I've said that a lot of times during our live feeds last year, and I'll say it again this time. Experience matters. And, this is where I think a lot of the other names that are maybe listed in the first heat here, Joshua Gonzalez very well could make a stance for the podium today. You mentioned Chaz Hatton earlier. He triple crowned our age group, but I think he's more than an elite athlete. As you can see, Joshua Gonzalez on here, his fit PR sub 32, which I think is a remarkable time. Your mile PR sub 19, strong PR. He's a low 12, and he's only 28 years old. He's a young kid. He's got more experience under his belt than most people in their 30s, in their 40s potentially, right? So Joshua Gonzalez is definitely going to make a stance today, and he's going to have a great year in DEKA. Another name I wanted to throw out there, though, Robert Killian at the moment. So Robert Killian, Mount Rushmore obstacle course racer, no debate there, multiple world champion for Spartan, really hasn't done anything as far as DEKA other than podium world championship and any of that. But we haven't seen much of Robert Killian, right? Has he been training for this specifically? Is he just making a showcase for National Guard? I don't know. Either way, I'm pretty excited to see what he's doing. And I salute you, sir, because you are by far what most people looked up to. And you showcase your skills every time you show up. So,
yeah, this is about as far away as you can get from Lake Tahoe, where Robert Killian won a short world championship last, but excited to see what he can do. Here you see Chaz Hatton, who, as we mentioned, won all three events in the 30 to 34 age group in DEKA FIT 2023. And, comes in one of six guys with a fit PR under 32 minutes. So, yeah, he competed in the age group field last year, but certainly belongs here in this elite field at the top of it. You see solid times in DEKA Mile and DEKA Strong. It's a well-rounded athlete who obviously has the work capacity for the station work, as evidenced by that sub 12 strong, but then can also handle it on the endurance end with a strong performance in DEKA FIT.
Yeah, absolutely. Chaz belongs in the elite field. Stay in the elite field, Chaz, so us age groupers can shine. And then here, of course, Colin Stiefer, the man of the hour. I think this man's going to win today's race. I think he's going to bring it. I think he has the mindset. I think he's a little upset for not qualifying the Elite 15 of this past High Rocks race. So I know he's got his sight focused on this to make a statement today. As you can tell, 30-35 fit PR is amazing time. Mile PR almost sub 17. And he was 7th at DEKA FIT World Championships last year, which I think will be much better this year as well.
Yeah, excelling at a race of about an hour in High Rocks, and now he can come down. And we know, having seen him in DEKA FIT last year, he certainly has the sharpness to, handle that increased intensity with the shorter runs and obviously shorter station work here at DEKA FIT. But, those are three solid times across all three DEKA events, a strong performance at World Championship last year. And like you said, one of, if not the favorite here in the men's field today.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, maybe not featured as well, too. Well, there we go. Okay, Joseph Cotto. All right, I knew we were going there. So this is the man who beat Colin Stiefer by 5 seconds at the World Championship. So if there is going to be one man that potentially beats Colin today, it is going to be this gentleman right here, Joseph, who just behind Derek York, I would say, has the fastest footwork. So this man is very fast. I don't know what his road times are, track times, or anything like that, but he was 6th at World Championships, so we have to put some respect on this man's name.
Yeah, you can see his mile and strong times to date, not quite, at the standard that Colin has put down so far, but with a slightly faster DEKA FIT, as you were saying, Luke, he brings the running ability as his strong suit into this event, and he might be a guy that tries to take it out early and builds a lead, knowing that, especially when we get to things like the assault bike later on, that might be a place where Colin can catch up or put in a gap. So I'm excited to see the strategy that these guys put out there today.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Other gentlemen that could make a run for the podium today, I just want to give a quick shout out because I know they have the potential of doing so. We have Austin Tenelsoff, who's definitely going to be able to do it. I hope I pronounced your last name right that time, Austin. But Austin 10, look for him to make top 5. Of course, Derek York, we mentioned him before, Paul Fitzpatrick, and Lawrence Taylor, who won the Open National Series for the Spartan race this past weekend in Jacksonville, I believe. Look for him to potentially make a name for himself today. And then Alexander Golick and Dustin Needham. This is a stacked field today, guys. I could see most people going sub 33. No world record, unfortunately.
Yeah, you just mentioned several guys. We talked about Chaz Haddon and his triple crown of the age group field at World Championship last year, but Lawrence Taylor, 3rd place in DEKA Fit and 1st in DEKA Mile in the 25 to 29. Dustin Needham was 2nd place in 40 to 44, which is a competitive age group in DEKA Fit. A couple of other guys also in that category. And then, of course, the wild card maybe Kevin Gregory, most known for his DEKA Strong exploits and what he can do on the assault bike. But he's a guy that's not afraid to mix it up. I'm not sure if he's going to be in this first heat or not, but certainly, wherever he's competing in, if you have less than a 30-second lead on him going into the assault bike, you might be in trouble because what he can do at Station 7 is unprecedented here in DEKA Fit.
Very true. We all remember his showcase that he put on at DEKA Fit World Championship or DEKA Strong World Championships last year. It was amazing. Underdog story. Everyone was rooting for him. He's the people's champ. And I don't know if he's going to be in the first heat or not either, but you can never underestimate him to make a move for the top 10 and potentially qualifying for World Championships. Well, I guess you would automatically this race, but to make a statement today as well too. We're not sure where his fitness is at with his running, so I hope he brings it today as well.
Yeah, it looks like we're just a few minutes away from getting started here, as it looks like the national anthem is going on right now. So just real quick, again, we don't have any of the top 5 from last year's DEKA Fit World Championship here in the season opener. Expect to see some of those guys later on, but last year, Rylan Shadig won it in 28:52. David Magida and Nick Riker also under 30 minutes. Dylan Scott, VJ Jones behind them, and then Joseph Cotto and Colin Stiefer. So these are 2 guys in the field today who certainly can mix it up, were competitive in that World Championship last year. And again, only 6 men have gone under 30 minutes so far to date in DEKA Fit. In Dylan Scott, Nick Riker, David Magida, Rylan Shadig, Rich Ryan, and Ryan Kent. So an opportunity, whether it's putting a time on the board or just winning a race and earning some cash, it's a great chance here to open the season and set a tone for some of these guys that are looking to make the leap to that next tier in the elite field.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think a world record will be broken today. I don't think the field is deep enough, maybe potentially for a 28 or any of that. But do I see sub 30 today between the battle between Joseph and Colin? Absolutely. The 30 seconds is definitely doable. It can definitely be doable on the run. They can make up for it, or on a couple of the stations as well. I don't remember the splits quite, for certain at the World Championships of what they were doing on the stations, but I know they're going to be neck and neck this whole race. At 5 seconds is what it was last year. I believe it's going to be 5 seconds again today. So it's going to make for an exciting race for you guys. Grab your popcorn and get ready for the showdown.
So we've got our MC on the mic. We should have some athlete call-outs starting here soon. And yeah, just a few minutes from getting underway.
He was 6th in DEKA Fit, 12th in the mile at the 2023 DEKA World Championships from Fairfax, Virginia. Let's hear it for Joseph Cotto!
All right.
So Joseph Cotto gets the first call out again, 6th place at World Championship last year. So he gets that nod over Colin Stiefer, finishing 1 spot ahead of him. You see Yancey right there front and center. He's probably the most hyped man for this season opener, even though he's not competing right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, Yancey, that man is just a walking cup of coffee.
Makes noise for Colin Stiefer!
All right, so here comes Colin Stiefer. The one thing about Joseph Cotto, you always can recognize him because he wears the same outfit every race.
it's helpful to be consistent. You know, this isn't a sport where we have uniforms or anything like that. So
very true.
When guys are, I mean, in this field, wearing a shirt is notable sometimes. So
absolutely,
it's easy to spot. And you know, these call-ups are beneficial too, right? Because we're both sitting at home right now. You in the Dallas area, me in Jacksonville. This is happening in Knoxville. So
All right.
you know, getting that identification early on is definitely helpful for us. Obviously, once the race starts, we start getting chip timing, and it's very easy to see who's leading. But it's a good start.
Correct.
29 Palms, California, representing Underdog Fitness. Let's hear it for Chaz Hatton.
So there's Chaz Hatton, again, Triple Crown in the 30 to 34 age group, which we can both attest to is no easy feat competing in that category, regardless of the endurance event. And he's certainly looking to make noise here today.
Make some noise representing the
that for sure.
National Guard. Let's hear it for Robert Killian.
All right, here comes the Hall of Famer. First ballot Hall of Fame right here, Robert Killian.
At number 5, 4 Amps from Amsterdam, New York, representing Underdog. Amps from Amsterdam, New York, representing Underdog Fitness. Let's hear it for Joshua Gonzalez, also representing the National Guard as well.
Joshua Gonzalez, another National Guard representative.
That's a fun fact I did not know. So
yeah,
that's very exciting.
Number 6, 10th at the 2022 DEKA FIT World Championships from Cabot, Arizona, representing the National Guard from Arkansas. Excuse me. Let's hear it for Derek Yorick.
The odds-on favorite to be leading the race after the first lap, Derek Yorick, there in all black.
Put your bets in now. I know he's going to take it out hot, like he always will.
Representing Tubular Fit, let's hear it for Austin Teleshaw.
And here's
Austin,
who competed in the elite field in both the mile and the strong. And so now a chance here for him to mix it up against the top competitors in DEKA FIT.
Yeah, Austin is one of the best to work on the stations, so definitely look for him to make his moves on the stations.
Fourth in Fit Team category in Austin at the 2023 DEKA World Championships from Grand Rapids, Michigan, representing the National Guard. Let's hear it for Paul Fitzpatrick.
You know, another shout out to Paul Fitzpatrick, who just came out as well. His footwork, if there's anyone who's going to match Derek Yorick at the beginning, this guy will. Paul can fly.
First in the mile, third in the fit from Raymond, Maine, representing CBC OCR. Let's hear it for Lawrence Taylor.
And here's Lawrence Taylor again, won the Spartan season opener in Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago. Podium in 2 events in his age group, a world championship last year. Certainly a guy that will be in the mix as well.
Oh, Bubbles is in the first heat. All right.
We will see Kevin Gregory here in Heat 1. So
let's go.
Again, watch out when we get to Station 7.
DEKA World Championships from Oakland, California. Let's hear it for Dustin Needham.
All right, Dustin Needham, fellow Raider, beloved fan.
Close out this first group in 18 to 24 age group, top 2 in all 3 distances at the 2023 DEKA World Championships.
Well, Xander, if only the race started with the assault bike, we would definitely see Bubbles running away with it at the beginning. But I think the field is just too packed for the running that I don't think Bubbles is going to be much in the run for there at the end. But as far as station work and stuff, you know he's going to be the top guy there. So if only we had DEKA Strong and DEKA Mile on the same day as well, too. That would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think what you'll see is Bubbles will clean up a few spots on that bike from guys that try and hang with the front and maybe fall off, right? Depending on how it goes, oftentimes 2 or 3 athletes might fall off the back, and you could see him jump up 3 or 4 spots just in that one station
absolutely.
alone.
Yep. All right, man. Who you got? Who's your podium? Your first podium of the year. Who you got?
I think it's going to be Stiefer and Cotto 1-2, and then, you know, I like someone like a Robert Killian. We haven't seen him in a while. We know he's a competitive racer, and he might be able to sneak in there in third place. But excited to see how it unfolds here in a few minutes.
Good pick. I like that. You definitely can't go wrong with that, with Robert Killian in third, or maybe even Derek York in third as well too. I'm gonna throw a huge wild card out there. Main reason because he was my relay partner last weekend in DC. But let's go Austin 10. Being a dime today, I think he gets his first podium. But Chaz Hatton, watch out. Chaz is going to make a name for himself today in the elite field. But I do think Colin Stiefer 1, Joseph Cotto 2.
So we're off and underway here in the Elite Men's Race. The 2024 DEKA FIT season officially underway. Of course, there have been plenty of local DEKA Strong and DEKA Mile events throughout the country already. And just like we thought, Derek York in front, at least based on that angle here. Again, this is a 2-lap event, so they'll circle the venue twice and then head into each station. First up will be weighted alternating reverse lunges, 30 reps.
There's Derek York taking it out hot. Dio, he always does it. I love it. This man, when he competed at the Boston Marathon, took it out hot in front of most competitors and was on live television, said he wanted his kids at home to see him on TV. And that's such a memorable moment, and I love it. I love it that he did it for the first couple miles. He said his legs were shot afterwards, but it was all worth it at the end.
Well, if they're watching now, then they'll see him out in front as well.
Exactly.
As you can see here in that wide shot, Derek York, a pretty decent gap early on as they come through the first lap. Robert Killian, it looks like in second, followed by Cotto and Stiefer. So interesting that, two guys that maybe we don't expect to be at the front of the race at the end are taking it out hot. But Joseph Cotto, Colin Stiefer, with their experience, not far behind, to say the very least.
Yeah, this is going to be exciting. Now that the first run is out of the way, now the functional part starts coming into play. This is where you're going to see Colin and Joseph kind of step away a little bit. I can't imagine the first 3 stations you're not going to see too much of a big gap. We said this last year, most people are going to be together in the first 3 stations. It's stations 4 through 6 when you start seeing that separation, and then anything from 7 to 10 is going to be your podium pick from there.
And at this point, all these athletes have so much experience in this event that there's no unknown. So it's really all about strategy. In and of itself, each of these stations isn't taxing in terms of the actual movement, but it's just the fatigue that builds up over time depending on how you manage your effort. And you can even see, just looking at Kevin Gregory right there, him attacking the stations, it just looks different compared to some of the guys next to him. But we've got the leaders coming out already. Again, not much separation here in Station 1 as you would expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You could definitely tell the difference between someone who does functional fitness and maybe in running as well, which is why this is hybrid racing and why it's a great blend. I wanted to point out real quick, Xander, do you see the red lines that are on the mat? That's a new rule and a new standard now here at DEKA, where your knee must pass that line. And it's to separate people who are taking those short knees as well too, exploding lunges, all that type of stuff. It's the proper step back to make sure you are getting a good reverse lunge. So that's a new standard, a new rule, and that applies for any type of DEKA Strong, DEKA Mile, any DEKA event that you're at the viewers at home that you may be participating in this year.
And we'll also see a new standard at the very end of the race, a greater emphasis on locking out the ram burpee at the end. So that'll be something that could be interesting, adding a few seconds to times that people might expect. So
absolutely,
I'm sure these athletes have been practicing those new standards, but that could be a factor just based on how some of these races ended last year.
I'm a huge fan of that new rule. I love the standard. It's very CrossFit-like, right? Locking out. I think it's perfect. It kind of cheats from the people who are hunching over a little bit on the burpees. All that could be debated. It's all opinionated as well too. The judges here or there, but it is no opinion, and it's a fact if you have your elbows locked or not, right? So I love the new standard, and I love that Yancey made that call.
So here is Station 2, 500 meters on the rower. As athletes are coming in, looks like Derek York in first place, Joseph Cotto, Robert Killian, Colin Stiefer are all right behind him in quick succession. Right. And then here comes, I believe that's Paul Fitzpatrick. So again, Paul not a ton of separation so far, but Derek York,
Joshua Hicks,
to this point, maintaining his lead.
Yeah, so they're all bunched together. The only gentleman we're missing out here is, of course, the People's Champ, Bubbles. But like we said, I think we kind of expected this when it came to the runs. But he'll make some ground up on the rower. But you have all the other 11 men right here piled together. Like I said, they're going to be all jam-packed, even on the box overs. And maybe they just, make it a great race for everybody at home and for us, Xander. They're all going to be together going into the burpees, and we just see an 11-man burpee off or something. It's crazy. I don't know. I want to see it. Why not? It's 2024. Let's make it happen.
Absolutely. So here we go. 500 meters on the rower. This will take these guys roughly a minute and 40 seconds, depending on how quickly they were into transition and whatnot. So again, not too time consuming, probably not a lot of separation, maybe a second or two in either direction. You could see someone like Bubbles put down the fastest split, but he's biding his time, waiting for later in the race. So it's interesting to see who comes out first, as again, Derek Yorick led the first run, worked his way through the station and maintained that lead here coming into row. We're about 5 minutes into the race.
Yeah, this is a tricky station as well too, Xander. You can give it a lot on this station, but what it's going to do is it's going to tax your legs, because the rower is 80% legs, right? If you are pulling properly, you are using the majority of your legs. And if you really want to tax yourself that much to make maybe a 10, 15-second gain, it can have huge side effects at the end of your race as well too when you get into the later stations.
So Colin Stiefer, Robert Killian, and Joseph Cotto all out before Derek Yorick. So here's the first move of the race made, as Colin Stiefer came in second or third into the station, does come up with a faster split time and is out first. You see some other guys like Austin Temelshoff and Paul Fitzpatrick coming out now, followed by Gonzalez and Taylor. But,
and see, this is interesting. Chaz is one of the later ones off the rower, but we very well know what Chaz is capable of. So this is when I believe the pacing, he's probably just going a little bit slow, but he knows he's going to make up the room later in the race.
And Colin attacking this run with intention.
Looking strong.
Easily the biggest gap of the race so far.
Absolutely. He's looking strong. He's looking good. Like I mentioned before, I bet he is coming off hot and heavy off the High Rocks race and not qualifying for Elite 15. So I know he wants to bring it today and make a statement to say, hey, I am still the guy. So I think today is his day for sure. So, and he's pushing away early.
Yeah, we're not quite a quarter of the way into the race in terms of time, and Colin certainly making that first move. Will it be a decisive one? Well, we'll find out, but, Colin leading by a gap like this early on could be bad news for the other athletes, just because he's also someone that can put down a serious time on the bike. It's not like a run-first guy is out in front with someone like Colin maybe trying to come behind him. So interesting to see, how this unfolds over the next few stations, because the gap heading into the bike could be a difference maker as he moves his way into box step overs again with 2, 3, 4 all coming in within a couple of seconds of each other.
Yeah, good. This is a race. I love it. Killian's still in the mix. I love that. I think it's great. He's definitely he's been training. I can tell. This is great. Here goes the mid-pack with Paul and Austin, and I believe Joshua Hicks coming in as well, too. And then Joshua Gonzalez and Lawrence Taylor making their way in.
So it looks like we may have a 4-guy race at the top, but then a pack of about 6 within, 15 seconds of each other. So this could be a situation where we end up with a couple of groups of guys all competing together at the end. It's still a long time to go as Colin maintains his lead here on run number 4.
Yeah, Colin clearly wants to put this away early, and he flew on those box overs. So, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. Here comes Heat 2 right now. I can't necessarily say a shout-out maybe anybody in Heat 2. I know Alexander Golick was another name that could shake up top 10 today. But that, as far as the other names, I'm not too familiar with, so I apologize in advance. But here comes Bubbles, seeing Colin. He's going to gladly let him go pass on the right and say, see you at the bike, So that would be a good showcase. They're not too far behind Colin. I would say maybe, it looks like maybe 5-7 seconds. Joseph and Derek are pulling off each other right now with their runs. Xander, their footwork is going to catch Colin if they're working together. I mean, this is exactly what you do in 5Ks, roads. You know this from being a runner as well too. It's best to run with someone or a pack opposed to by yourself, being that lonely man on an island, because then you could just pull off each other and pull up the pace. I think they're going to be working together to kind of reel in Colin here.
Especially because right now the only other people on course, and there's no one really in front of him, but we may get to a point where, you know, Colin or whoever's leading is chasing down athletes from that second heat, but they're most likely going to be moving slower. So you don't necessarily have, you know, that same carrot in front of you compared to here, Derek and Joseph, who, as you mentioned, working together, it does seem like they pulled a little bit of a gap back on Colin. So, you know, that could be just them using their running ability on those 500 meters. But Colin, of course, someone that can bring it on the stations. And all of these athletes should work through these med ball setups pretty quickly.
That's one of the craziest things about this hybrid racing is that it's multiple laps, right? Around the same track, around the same stations, everything on the inside. So it can A, be great, or B, it can mess with you because you can get lapped so many times in this race and it could just hit your ego and you just want to slow down. Also, too, you always have somebody in front of you, whether it be from someone from heat 2 or from the first heat. So you always want to play chasing the rabbit and chase them down and keep past them so it can motivate you to run faster. It's one of those things. It's a mental game when you do hybrid racing, but at the same time, it can be so fun because it's just so different.
And it looks like we have our first break from this top four as Robert Killian is going to come out several seconds after Derek Yorick. And so it's Stiefer 1, Kodo 2, Yorick 3, then a bit of a gap between them and Robert Killian, and then now Paul Fitzpatrick coming out in fifth as you see the zone times there.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, that's about 2 seconds. Yeah. Oh, wow. Paul put up a great time for med ball sets, being one of maybe the smaller competitors. That's a great med ball time. I will say I'm pretty surprised Chaz is a little bit behind at the moment. I don't know if the game is the pace necessarily, or maybe where he's, there's an issue of some sort. I don't know. I'm surprised he's not in the mix for podium, though, at the moment.
And now you see here Colin passing athletes from the second heat. Again, yes, you can work your way past them and try and pace yourself off of that, but that doesn't necessarily help you build a lead on the guys behind you because they know exactly how fast you're running.
Right. Absolutely. Killian's still holding there strong. Very well can make the podium today. I think this is exciting, man. I mean, I haven't seen Robert Killian or heard of his name. When I saw him on the list, when Jason sent us the list, I was pumped to see him on there. So, I mean, this is great to see him out there. If this is the only race we get of him, then I'm going to take in every second I can get.
Yeah, because that's someone who's not afraid to just put his nose down and grind, whether it's getting to the top of a mountain in a 45-minute climb or a 30-something minute race like this. So here we go. Skier, another 500 meters, a little bit less than 2 minutes for these guys. You see Colin and Joseph there, 1-2. Worth noting, and it's you can't read too much into this because everyone paces their race differently, but I do have Dylan Scott splits from the World Championship where he ran 30:02 last year, and he was at 14:17 coming out of skier. So these guys are really close to that time. And a guy like Colin, who maybe can make up some time on the bike, just worth noting because, that 30-minute barrier is notable in the fact that so few guys have passed it. Who knows if that's what they're going for specifically today or if they're just trying to win the race. But it'll be interesting to see how close these leaders can come to it because they're not too far behind right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure when it comes to training for the first race of the series, if you're actually going for a certain time or if you're just going for the win, right? We have 9 races that they can, or 8 other races that they can potentially come back in and get a qualifying time for World Championships. So I think today it's more so win, make a statement early in the season, tell them who you are, and then roll from the rest of the year after that. And then obviously if you get a PR on top of that, then that's fantastic as well. But I can't imagine it's too much in their head at the moment of what their overall time is.
Especially for someone like Colin, who, as we talked about, 1 spot out of qualifying for the High Rocks World Championship so far. And, he wants to make a statement, get a win on the board, and build some confidence if he's going to go for that last chance qualifier here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, look at you can kind of notice the difference on the ski erg forms too. It's one station. There goes Colin there in first. I love watching different forms on the ski erg. They're different techniques as well. Colin hinging a little bit more at the hips. You had Joseph who was going in full squats, which is exactly what I do because I'm a small guy. So I definitely have to use everything I have just to even maintain a certain lick of power that Colin could probably produce. And then I think Killian right there in third. I'm not sure how far back Derek York is or Austin at the moment.
Off screen, it looks like Derek York and Joseph Cotto are pretty much neck and neck. So I think York might have snuck out off camera right along with Joseph.
Yeah.
So that top four remaining intact. Colin Stiefer still with a lead.
Oh, there we go. 201. Okay. It said 129 there for a second. I was about to say, Derek, that's flying, buddy.
And remember, those times include, the second or two coming into the zone and coming out. So the actual pace that they were skiing at, a little bit faster even than those solid sub-2 times.
Absolutely. Yeah, these guys are animals. They definitely train on it. And there's Derek. Wow. Already passing Joseph. Wow. Yeah, Derek's bringing it after this station. Yeah, these guys are feeding off each other so much in the running. Colin, I know Colin's got more than enough ability to maintain that lead, but they're not that far behind. You can see them there in the distance. This is going to come down to the wire. I just hope that Derek and Joseph can bring it on the bike to maintain with Colin.
And here's Colin Stiefer in zone 6, the farmer's carry. We're now a bit more than halfway through the race, both in terms of overall distance and time. But here's Joseph Cotto.
Yeah, super close. Yeah. These guys made up the room for sure. This is a station that doesn't really shake up any positions. Unfortunately, it's more so just taxing the grip. And one thing it does tax, if you're not familiar with doing heavy farmer carries, it taxes your cardiovascular abilities. I mean, you hold your breath more than you think. So this run afterwards could be fairly taxing because we know what's next. It's the assault bike.
Yeah, I wonder if you're subconsciously just holding back a tiny bit, knowing what's coming for you. And, that maybe is what allowed Joseph Cotto to pick up a couple of seconds there on Colin, even though Colin does still maintain the lead. And here's the rest of that mid-pack. You saw Austin Tendelshoff, Dustin Nita, or Joshua Gonzalez, I should say, and a couple of other guys coming through. There's Paul Fitzpatrick ahead of Austin. I think this is about 6th and 7th place to this point.
Yeah, I think this is jostling for those positions. Austin and Paul feeding off each other, teammates for life. Joshua Gonzalez fighting right behind him.
There's Robert Killian, you see in the kind of royal blue shirt now fading into the background, but he's right now running alone in 4th as Colin continues to try and hold that lead, but Joseph Cotto
right there,
seconds behind him.
Absolutely. Oh, this is a race now for sure. It did come down to the wire last year here at Knoxville. Colin Stiefer against Nick Riker. They both ran a 31:19, 31:55. Colin got second behind Riker. So Colin is familiar with this course. I guess you could say it's the same layout, but the same venue. But I think he's definitely going to be running a much faster time than 31:55 from last year. But Joseph Cotto, just a little different on the footwork. So I'm not sure.
This is going to be interesting, this part of the race right here, because I think it's fair to say that Colin has the advantage on the assault bike. But we saw Joseph, pull back a few seconds on this run and almost catching up to Colin right now. So it'll be like maybe Colin comes out in front of this bike, but then does Joseph have enough left in the tank to bring it back on the last 3 runs?
Right.
So here we go. They start the bike at about the exact same time with Derek York only about 6 seconds behind them.
If I'm Colin Stiefer, I am giving it most of what I got right now on this bike and trying to hold on for the run and push away, because I just don't think if they were to match each other right now on the bike that he can outrun Joseph. So Colin has to put in the work right here on the bike, give himself some separation, make Joseph run harder on the runs to gas himself to run away with it today.
And at first, it did look like Colin had a bit of a higher cadence on the bike. Joseph, a slightly taller athlete, so taking advantage of those long limbs. But they're about 40 or so seconds into the bike so far.
They're crushing it. They're moving good. There's Derek York. Oh, Killian right there using the stand-up technique. And there goes Colin. Okay, so
under a minute for Colin Stiefer. He came out at about 20:07, and so there is a gap formed. Colin Stiefer takes it to Joseph Cotto on the bike.
Yeah.
And so far, no one has come out. So about 15 seconds.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Yep.
There's 1,500 meters of running left for Joseph Cotto if he wants to try and catch up. But Colin made another move there. We saw one earlier where he opened the gap after the row. He does the same here on the bike. As you can see, that Derek York gave it absolutely everything the way that he's coming out in third place.
That was a great move by Colin. I think it was a very smart decision by him. I hope it's not too taxing on his next run, but I think he's already prepared himself for that. But he needed that separation away from Joseph. And he's looking good. I mean, look at his stride. I mean, it didn't even look like it affected him. So this is where Colin just maintains it. The next two stations, I don't think Joseph is going to make too much of a ground other than the runs itself. And it's going to come down to the burpees.
Yeah, Colin's stride looks very similar to what it did about 20 minutes ago early in the race. And that's a bad sign for everyone else, because if he can just hold on during the runs, you know, these three stations should be able to work through them pretty well.
Absolutely. That's a bad man right there. That's a bad man. Look at Austin's bike time as well, too. I knew Austin was going to bring it on the assault bike as well. And then Joshua Hicks at 108.
Maybe had a bit more of a pedigree in terms of the strong and the mile coming in. But, you know, if you can hang in the runs, you could see him moving up the field like he did there. And now Robert Killian, it looks like ahead of Joseph Cotto.
It might be second lap.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cotto is moving pretty well. So, yeah, I think he would have lapped Killian. It's a good call.
Yeah, Cotto, he doesn't look like he's slowing down either. So let's see what kind of the gap is here. Let's see if he's made up any. Still, I don't know. I think Cotto either made up a couple seconds there on that run, or it's about the same separation from the bike. So everything's still pretty even after the bike.
And that's probably a good sign for Colin. If he can maintain that gap, you know, over these next two runs and stations, that gives him a little more room to work with when he goes to knock out those burpees at the end.
And don't count out Dio, Mr. Derek York over there. I mean, this guy, as soon as he catches his breath after this too, if he's going to outrun anybody, he could definitely outrun these two guys in front of him. So don't count him out.
Yeah, this is an interesting station because you have to walk around the structure. You can only go so fast, and so it's very similar times. You see Colin coming out at about 23:10, and Joseph should have a few more reps.
Yeah, so it seems like Colin has built more of a lead. Okay, so
just about 20 seconds with only two runs to go.
Yep, that's great for Colin. You can see Derek's technique. He's lifting that ball in the middle and completely going over more than staying to the side like Joseph and Colin were. Again, that could be from an experience standpoint as well too. Or it could be a way for Derek to try to just regain his breath and just try to hold on for third, because Killian is right there behind him. And there's Austin. So you never know. It could shake up things here. The last couple stations, like I said, can't make too much of a gap, but the running you definitely can.
Yeah, you saw Austin there just for a few seconds. Like you were saying, the opposite, where instead of going to the middle, he was staying right on the edge of that structure and just moving as little as possible. and trying to make up time in that way. And you see the split times, on the screen here. Colin just over a minute, Derek York 124. And if you think about it, that's 22 seconds, 20 reps. 1 second extra per rep to move to the middle can add up over time.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, again, a station that you're not really going to have that too much of a gap and stuff, but that little bit to the side, like you said. Oh, there's Bubbles, of course. I'm glad we got this on video. Let's go. This man, no remorse for human life. I love it, and he gets off now. I'm going to deem it now for you, Bubbles. The Bubbles technique.
Yeah, I remember listening to him talk about that in his strategy, and the amount of thought and just practice and testing and tinkering for him to go into it that allows him to do 25 calories in less than 20 seconds is absolutely incredible.
Yeah. He's not from this planet.
So here's the tank push, and based on the time gap, Colin should be at least one down and back ahead of Joseph at this point.
So here's another showcase of the new sleds. We got to see it at the DEKA FIT World Championships or the DEKA World Championships. These new sleds, Yancey was saying, was kind of running a little bit slower than the tanks that we had previously as well. But I don't know. I kind of beg to differ a little bit. I think some of these splits, I guess depends on the surface, can run a little smoother than most. These new tripod wheels, I think, can move a little bit smoother than a typical tank with 4 wheels. Less air pressure maybe in the tires to maybe deal with, and but all the weight is the same across the board, the same for male and female. It's just the resistance is changed differently. Men is 8, women is 7, and I believe the kids is 5. I think Colin's going to maintain his lead here. I don't think Joseph's going to make too much of a ground. And I think Colin knows this right now as well, too. So if he's smart, he won't necessarily burn all his energy right now. And he'll kind of then lay it out on the last run and then knock out those 20 burpees like it's nothing.
Yeah, at this point, coming down to it in this race, there's only one 500-meter run left and then the burpees. So to your point, if you can measure your effort a little bit here on the tank push, from Colin's perspective, knowing he had about a 20-second lead coming out of the last station, he should put himself in a good position here.
Absolutely. And I think this is his last one. Yep. Yeah, Colin very well could get a PR today. Absolutely. This is, let's say if he runs this in 2 minutes, so 29:15. In 2 minutes is, fairly slow probably for Colin. So, and then he can knock out those burpees in a minute. We're looking at a PR here.
And Joseph Cotto out too, so not sure if he's on track for a PR, but pretty close. Again, he's got a little bit less than 3 minutes overall to work with. Those two guys, again, both ran in the 30:30s. Cotto 30:30, Stiefer 30:35 at World Championships last year.
So this is when I mentioned at the skier that they're probably not paying attention to time. Yeah. You just never know. But right now, I guarantee they know exactly where they're at on time. And if you know a PR is within your grasp or maybe potentially breaking 30, they're going to give it everything they got right now. So I know that's on the back of Colin's mind right now. Maybe even Joseph's as well, too.
Yeah, I think the way that they've been racing at this point, they know that, at the very least, Joseph knows he's going to be top 2. And Colin, has to be feeling pretty confident in his ability to win this race. But yeah, at this point, you have a bit more bandwidth to think about your time, knowing that there's so little of the race left, and you know exactly what it's going to take to finish it out.
Yeah,
the split times we've been seeing for Joshua Hicks, not correct. He's been showing up at the top of the leaderboard occasionally, but Colin with a 2:16, and again, Austin Tennelshoff making it happen on the stations.
So I wanted to mention that as well, too. Derek was struggling there on the sleds. Look at that difference of the gap from the sled times. I mean, that's huge. Derek better bring it on this last 500 meters if he wants to get this podium. So third place is definitely up for grabs right now. Here comes Colin.
Stiefer on the burpees. You saw Yancey there kind of pointing out his form. And here's a first look, at least in DEKA FIT, of the new movement standards. Again, it's got to be a full walkout above your head, which should slow down the burpee times to a degree, but obviously Colin has a fairly sizable lead on Joseph here coming into this last station.
If you have any type of CrossFit background, locking out should be at no issue for you. In fact, that was what I had to correct a lot of times last year. Tell a bunch of people like that, you do not need to lock out, which is a new change of pace for a lot of people. But I like this standard, and you can see it with Colin. He does it beautifully. Joseph as well, too. Full extension above the head, full extension at the hips. These are great-looking burpees right here.
So in all likelihood, this is your 1-2, Colin Stiefer and Joseph Cotto, two guys we had tabbed as likely favorites.
Colin
gets a PR.
All right.
Wins DEKA FIT Knoxville season opener.
All right.
Unofficially about 30-23, call it, with Joseph Cotto several seconds behind him. But a smart race run by Colin Stiefer. Opened up a gap at the row, let the field back into it a little bit, and then did his work on the assault bike and ultimately built an unsurmountable gap from there. A strong season opener for Colin, who I almost don't want to call it a season opener because he is right in the thick of the High Rock season, just competing overall. But here we go, a battle coming up as
so here goes Austin. All right,
last few reps. Yeah, Austin Tenelshoff and Derek Yorick, third and fourth. Austin has a chance here to sneak onto the podium.
He does. I think Derek might have just enough gap on him, but Austin's moving so much better. There's Joseph in second place. No PR for him today, but a great effort nonetheless.
And Robert Killian, who's hung in there in fifth place, starting his burpees.
Oh,
this is for third place.
It is. I don't know how many Derek is ahead right now, but Austin seems to be moving just slightly faster. And then Killian right there backing up for top 5. A new rule as well, too. You have to set the ram roller down. You can no longer throw it, toss it, let go of it. You have to set it down, or it is, from my understanding, either a disqualification or you have to go back and set it back up. So that is a new rule, so look out for that as well. Oh, and Derek York, just enough to get third.
So Derek York hangs on. Austin Tenelshoff, a few reps to go, but he's eyeing a fourth-place finish as he worked his way through the field, coming up from probably 6th or 7th at the halfway point of the race, doing some strong work on the last few stations.
All right.
He comes in sub-32.30, a strong result for Austin Tenelshoff.
And I'm not sure if that's a PR for him or not.
I think it is by a few seconds. It looks like he came in at a 32.27, and it was just above 32.20 there. So a strong effort in the season opener.
If it's 32.27, he matched his PR. So I'd say that's a pretty damn good effort for the first race for sure. Man, good to see Derek York back on the podium. Welcome back to DEKA FIT, Mr. York. So you notice there Killian kind of threw it down. I don't know what the new rules on that or, with the judge. From my understanding, you have to put it down, but I guess maybe this far into the race, it really doesn't matter. So,
yeah, Joshua Gonzalez, you can see there in the background, just diving across a split second after Killian. So I'm not sure if there is any, possibility of a time penalty or anything like that for throwing the burpee down. But Joshua Gonzalez, almost a faster split time on the burpees than Colin Stiefer. So he was a guy that was battling till the very end.
Yeah, this is a great battle. All these men sub 34 right now, which are remarkable times. I mean, they came in with all PRs of sub 34, so I expected nothing less from these gentlemen as well. It's a great showcase. Chaz was a little bit of the shocker here as far as not making a run for the podium. Again, he could be injured. He could be having other focuses on a different type of race. Racing season is just getting started. There's so many options out there. But I don't discredit this man whatsoever because you and I have both seen what he is more than capable of, and his times prove that. So look out for Chaz later in the year making redemption.
And you can see here in the background some of the other heats of this elite men's field going at it. This was a very deep race in terms of the start list. Several guys, especially in Heat 2, that maybe would have been at the back end of the first heat in some other races. So we may see some strong times from the top end of Heat 2 as well, even though they're not competing in this top field.
Yeah, usually we see the women, not too far behind the men and stuff, but this elite men's field has 50 individuals. I mean, this field is so deep. The second heat very well could shake up the top 10, even third heat, honestly. That's one of those things. It's also a time trial. You never know who can bring it, who's been training for it, who's ready, who's not, who's in their prime. So that's always exciting. You can't always discredit the people. They're still in the elite field, so you never know until the end of the race.
While we have a second here, I want to say that do you want to see more DEKA and OCR races live streamed this year? Support the sport and become an OCR Report member today for less than $5 a month. You can help us live stream races like this every single week. Find a link in our YouTube show notes and more information on our Instagram page at the OCR Report. Become a member today. Coming in, we talked about Joseph Cotto and Colin Stiefer pretty close to each other in World Championships last year. And that's how the race played out today. They go 1-2 as we see the back end of this opening heat finishing up as Bubbles, after completely selling out as always on the assault bike, finishing up his burpees. And that's someone right there who definitely won't have any compromises in terms of form.
Not at all. No,
Bubbles. Guys around.
Absolutely, yeah. Bubbles lives and breathes DEKA. This man makes tutorial videos on how to perform stations. If it's not Yancey that you need to speak with when it comes to DEKA, Kevin Gregory is the next one on board, and that's exactly who I would tell you to go train with or at least ask questions about DEKA as well. This man is definitely the epitome of what DEKA is. It's good to see him out there. I'm glad to see him out there.
Yeah, solid performance for him. Again, he's definitely angled his training more toward the DEKA mile and especially DEKA strong, just with that work capacity on the stations. But he's never been someone afraid to mix it up, whether it's, a Spartan Ultra back in the day or, an 11-minute event in terms of DEKA strong. So good to see Bubbles come in under 37 minutes.
This is what I want to start seeing here at these DEKA Fit locations. Yancey, if you're watching this afterwards, of course, I'm calling it out there. I want to start seeing some DEKA mild, DEKA strongs also with these elite fields, because we finally get it to this race where we have obviously all these stud competitors coming out. Why not go ahead and have the other mile and the strong there as well too, so they can also showcase their skills. I want to see it, and I will be happy to broadcast it and commentate it as well. This is where we can see different type of strategies, and of course, a showcase like Bubbles, like we did last year. I want to start seeing that at DEKA Fit locations. Again, I know logistics is I'm sure the biggest issue on that, but I think we can make it happen, Yancey.
And it would add a new dynamic to kind of the competition in those two events throughout the year, right? Because right now, unless, two guys show up at the same gym at the same time, you don't really ever see a head-to-head in DEKA Strong or DEKA Mile, at least with a field of more than, again, maybe 2 or 3 people who might, depending on a gym setup, start at the same time. And so for a few times throughout the year, you could see top competitors go head-to-head in a DEKA Strong or a DEKA Mile. That might just elevate the field that much more. Because instead of just a time trial, it would be a time trial with another competitor responding to moves, understanding how their strategy might be different from yours. I mean, an event like DEKA Strong, it's just the output that you could put down for, 11 to 13 minutes for a lot of these guys. But yeah, to your point, I think that would definitely spice up the competition and progression of those events throughout the year, building up to World Championships rather than a World Championship that just is the first time that we see everyone at the start line at the same time in the mile or the strong.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you on that. It'd make for exciting stuff for us viewers because, of course, that's pretty good. All right, so I believe we have the winner about to come over here, and we're about to ask him some questions from his win. And I'll be here in a short few moments. We have all the other competitors from the second heat, third heat. We're going to get Colin here on screen here in a second. What's up, Colin?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Mhm.
I
Go ahead, Xander. I'll let you take it.
Sure, yeah. So, Colin, a strong, season opener in DEKA FIT. Obviously, not a season opener for you, given everything else you've had going on. But coming into today, we saw you make a bit of a move coming out of the row, and then obviously on the bike. Kind of, what was your game plan heading into the race this morning?
Well, when I saw Joe Cotto in the warm-up area, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to feel sorry for myself on any of the runs, let alone the stations. Because if you remember North Carolina last year, we were back and forth. I would make up some room on the stations, and he caught me right back on the runs. And that was such a stressful way to race. So I was like, all right, try, push, and if you can hold on, maybe we'll hold him off. If not, he'll be right there, and it'll make you work a little bit harder. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, we saw you look pretty strong. I think I made a comment kind of coming off the bike. Your stride looked very similar to how it did earlier in the race. So definitely, it seemed like you stuck your nose in there early and were able to maintain that level of effort, which definitely paid off for you.
Awesome. Thank you. I've been working on my running a lot this last year. That's been a little bit of a hindrance in hybrid racing. And I don't want that to be something that everybody talks about whenever I line up on the start line. So we're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
But
it was a blast. We didn't. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. How are you?
Well, I was going to say, we don't necessarily blast your running by any means. I mean, what you did, of course, last weekend in DC was fantastic. And I also mentioned here at the beginning of this race, I'm sure there was some fire underneath you, just missing out there on the Elite 15. You definitely wanted to come in and make a statement today. Do you feel like you have made a statement today? Are you getting ready for your future races? What's next for Colin Stiefer?
Well, we're back to training. Got a lot of work to do. Again, I was right there last week in DC. I was able to pull this one out this morning, but it was not comfortable. Joe Cotto gave me a run for my money, and I really like racing that guy. But if I could put a little bit larger of a gap on him, and I could race a little more comfortable towards the end, I'd be very happy. The last 2 weeks in DC and also this morning, I've been racing with a little bit of a heavy heart. My sister-in-law passed away last weekend, so I got Rachie on the arm right here. I don't know if you can see it, but did last week, did this week. So when it gets hard, just look down and know that this shit really isn't that hard compared to what some people have to go through. So,
and I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, and the fact that you're doing this after the passing and stuff, man, much respect. Not many people can do that in your type of shoes and position. So we applaud you for that, Colin. Well done, man.
Well, thank you. And I get to see your guys' smiling faces. I get to see Bubbles in the warm-up area. I get to see Shan right here. It's a wonderful day.
That's right. That's right. I wanted to ask you real quick, too. You brought up Joseph Cotto as well, and you said you saw him in the warm-up station. Everyone kind of has a doppelganger and a rival as well, too. Would you say Joseph here in DEKA is probably your rival? I mean, you guys go back and forth. You're so even when it comes to most things as well, too. Or would you say today kind of marks maybe a new era where you're just now right above Joseph and you're making the run more for the top guys in this sport?
I'd say both of us are probably making a run towards the top. I don't think today I'm like Joe will never beat me in another race because he was not that far behind me. If the bike goes a little bit different or something, it doesn't take much in these races to make a big swing. But I think both of us are ready. I was talking to him before, and he's been training just as hard. So we're coming for you, boys. Dylan, look out!
I love it.
I hope he knows.
Well, there we go. What better way to end it than cutting a promo? Colin, thanks so much for hopping on, just about 10 minutes after you finished up. Great job today. Good to see you out there again. All respect for racing the last 2 weeks, given the circumstances that you mentioned. And thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you guys for everything you do.
Of course, man. Congrats on the PR.
Thank you.
All right, and we're just about set now for the women's field. You see they've done some of their call-ups, getting ready to get started. Morgan Schulz, the world champion here in the field, and a lot of unknowns after that. So, Luke, we had a lot of hype for the men's race coming in because we sort of knew what to expect from a lot of these competitors. And this is the exact opposite and is exciting in its own way because there's just not as many people in this field who have put down, times at all in DEKA FIT, let alone competing in the World Championship. So you've got some experienced athletes in Samantha Wood and Emily Stevens, and a lot of National Guard representatives, as we did see in the men's field as well. So excited to see what this looks like here when the women take off here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I think you could see this. Morgan Schulz just looks, like a champion over the other women right now. I mean, she was also, I believe, in Fort Lauderdale High Rocks, got second place, made a statement for herself. So she's definitely going to make a statement today. I don't think any other woman comes close. And I think she pulls away. I don't think no world record is going to be broken, but I think maybe she gets a PR today. And yeah, so here's the other female athletes as well too. Megan Gaedje, if I'm taking a guess as well too. It's her first DEKA Fit today, so that's exciting. She played collegiate softball. I know it's not similar, but if you're a collegiate athlete, I mean, I think it's safe to say you're fairly fit in most functional aspects. So, and she played 10 years of women's rugby, which if there's any respect of getting contact, that's the sport. Much respect to Megan. So I think it's tough to say she's definitely tough. So she'll find herself in the pain cave today.
And Emily Stevens, of course, part of the team, along with her husband, Matt, putting on Rally in the Valley in West Virginia.
Right.
A longtime Spartan competitor. Haven't seen her competing quite as much recently after giving birth a couple of years ago, but Emily is someone who mixed it up a lot in the Spartan series. 4 or 5 years ago, was part of the Spartan Pro team, and is certainly someone with a lot of racing experience, maybe more so than a lot of the other competitors in this field.
Yeah, I think she very well can make a run for the podium. I'm excited to see what she's bringing, and I'm waiting for my invite to Rally in the Valley, Matt, if you're listening. And then Morgan Schulz, the world champion. She, there's nothing else to say. She's going to dominate this race. I think she's in great shape right now. I think she's going to run away with it. Just simple as that.
You see Morgan there in all black with the yellow shoes at the front of this race. We'd expect her to be at the front early on. She's an athlete who a Division I collegiate running background, but an event like DEKA FIT and just the growth of hybrid racing has come at a perfect time for her because it really suits her skill set well.
Yeah, absolutely. This is hybrid racing's right up her alley, and I'm glad she's finally took a step into it last year. Now she's making a big name for herself even more. So anytime you see her name on the list or on the starting line, you have someone either chasing you down or someone to chase. I'm most excited about this race, Xander, about the unknowns, right? Which lady is going to be a podium? I mean, there's so many names on this list, 17 to be exact. Obviously, 12 in this first heat. Names we're just not familiar with, but very well could be the next Morgan Schulz this year. It's exciting to see maybe someone does give Morgan a run for her money today.
And even someone like Samantha Wood, who was part of the World Championship field in 2022, but didn't compete last year. So you've got athletes who have been racing, in the past, but we haven't seen much of them recently. Kind of like a Robert Killian, who has a long storied history of racing, but not as much in the last year or so. That's presumably a lot of training time along with other life commitments, and it's exciting to see what they can do. I don't know if you heard, but as we get underway, the MC at the start line, I think, asked everyone who their first DEKA Fit to put their hand up, and basically everyone except for Morgan and Samantha raised their hand, including Emily Stevens. And so,
yeah, you don't see that often
thing about this field. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely for an elite race, right? Let alone open heats, you see it all the time, but elite race, you don't see that very often. Well, Xander, I know the race just went underway, but I'm going to have to, what's your podium prediction real quick before the first station happens?
I think absent a lot of information about a lot of these competitors, I think it's hard to obviously pick against Morgan Schulz, who's already opened up a huge gap here. But I want to say Morgan, Emily, and Samantha 1, 2, 3, but I could very much be proven wrong by one of these other athletes who we don't know as much about, who might, come out with something and just showcase some talent that we didn't realize they had.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also just agree with that 3, mainly just because of experience and stuff too. Emily Stevens, even though this might be her first DEKA Fit, just like most women in this field, I think will still potentially make that run for a podium in 3rd place just based off her obstacle course background. Compromised running is compromised running nonetheless, and if she's got tons of experience behind it, I think she'll do just fine today. Now, I think it would be interesting. The thing about your first race, it's hard to judge your pacing. And that first 500, like we know from Derek York, people love taking it out hot at the beginning, right? Morgan Schulz, I think more than enough knows what she's doing. And I think she's not too concerned maybe with today's field as well, too, if I'm just being honest. But at the same time, these women that are new to this race, are they selling their soul in this first 500? And are they going to pay the price for it? Or are they also maybe potentially pacing themselves? I would assume most of these women, even though it's their first race, have at least been training for it or at least aware of the pacing potentially.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between running a 500-meter rep fresh and then running your second 500-meter rep immediately after doing 30 weighted lunges. I remember the first time I did a DEKA mile, it got real very quick. As you see Morgan already with a big gap, she finished. She's again, more than any other athlete in this field, one that knows exactly what that feeling is going to be and has certainly trained for it, as evidenced by her World Championship last year. But excited to see how the rest of this field unfolds. I believe that's Samantha Wood and Emily Stevens coming out second and third. We'll start getting splits here in the next couple of stations, but so far at least, it looks like the competitors we expected to be at the top of the field are, but there is a long way to go here in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And we apologize in advance. Not too familiar faces. We're going to assume Samantha Wood, of course, up front. Lydia Pearson's another name. Of course, Megan Gaedje, we saw a picture of, so of course we can picture her out. Hannah, Ashley, Margaret, Maria, Sherry. If you're all in this first heat, we're sending you some love. We just apologize if you're up there, and of course we're not too familiar with the faces. But Morgan, I think another great question, or another underline we can do. Yeah, okay, so Samantha Wood, it was Samantha, is how much of a gap do you think she wins by today? Do you think Morgan is maybe aware of a certain time? I know when you do qualify for World Championships, it is time-based. Is she wanting to just do one and done? Is she potentially going to be coming out to multiple race series? I think she knows she has the win, but what type of time is she looking to throw down today? What's your prediction on that, Xander?
That's a good point. And, on the women's side, looking at the leaderboard last year, that 33-minute barrier is somewhat equivalent to the 30-minute barrier for men, just in terms of the number of athletes who meet that standard. And, of course, Morgan herself, I believe, got under 33 minutes last year.
32:36.
32:36. So that's not too far away. I mean, that is less than 10 seconds from Megan Jacoby's world record. We talked about, is the first race of the season the time to go for a world record? I don't know. But when your PR is already close enough, I would think for Morgan, not having anyone, at least so far it seems like, to push her will be difficult. But I think if she can make a run at 33 minutes, that would be a great, putting her foot down and saying, okay, well, I've probably got my qualification secured here in the season opener, and maybe we see her later on. But it will be difficult, I think, for her to squeeze every second out of this race if this gap she's already maintained continues to grow, just because there's not going to be anyone there to push her.
And I think it's safe to say when you're such a top-level talent, you have just one kind of pace, or, other that, or you burn faster than that pace. So once you have done sub 33 for this instance for Morgan, I don't think what a 35 or 36 is. You are either 33 or sub 33 for the remainder of your career on that. I don't think she knows how to go slower, right? So even if she is running by herself, I think she still brings that top level pacing. Much like the race last year, I think it was SoCal, BJ Jones, if you remember, pushing away from the field, and we thought, oh, maybe he goes for that sub 30, but he was so far ahead of everybody else, we thought maybe he was slowing down until he almost broke 30 minutes, if I remember correctly. And it's like I said, I just think when you're there at a certain level, it's hard to put your foot off the pedal just because you've been training for it, so.
So on the screen here, you see Morgan Schulz on the right, and then that's Megan on the left, who I believe is in fourth place. So someone who, we highlighted coming in, expected to make a little bit of noise just given her athletic background. Is Morgan Schulz the first athlete out of the rower? And already with, a 10-plus second gap, you can see on the other side of the zone, Samantha Wood and Emily Stevens. Again, you always take those first rowers in to minimize the amount of time you have to spend, in transition. So the first athletes in are the ones closest to the exit. As here's a look at Emily Stevens cranking on the rower. It's a little bit tough to see, but looks like she's in the low 150s right now in terms of pacing.
Well, I'll tell you what. So there's Samantha Wood right there getting off the rower. Morgan already has about a 40-second lead in the second station. That's very impressive. And I would imagine Morgan wasn't rowing potentially that much faster than the other ladies were. I just imagine the runs are just that much more of a difference.
Similar to Colin right now, it just looks like, just a business-like stride for Morgan here, having experienced this event before and knowing what it does to your body. I think so far, she seems confident. She's certainly racing with intention as far out in the field. And yeah, it's early in the race, but the way that this has been going, she's opening up a bigger and bigger gap. You see her there already lapping fourth place, which goes to show you how much of separation there's already been here in this field.
Yeah, she's going to lap most people. She's going to lap second and third potentially here, maybe after the third or fourth station as well. Morgan, I think just like Colin, wants to make a statement. I mean, she is the defending world champion. You are going to have a target on your back all season. Your name is the top of the list no matter where you go. You're going to get that shout out. And so she knows this. And so therefore I know she knows she doesn't want to have a slow time today. So I think she's feeling good. She looks strong right now.
Yeah, the last time we saw Morgan in a DEKA FIT event, it was much more of a race. She beat Tara Jackson by 13 seconds, and Lauren Griffith was about 15 seconds behind Tara. So definitely a different environment here as Morgan on station number 3, the box step overs. This should just be a speed bump in the road for her as she continues to open up a gap here on this field.
I've known of Morgan for a few years and stuff, through Instagram and social media. When I met her for the first time, I didn't realize how tall she was. So she's definitely got those track legs, like you mentioned as well too, and her stride looks phenomenal as well too. So she can come off very intimidating from a physical standpoint. She's great on any of these, which makes for a 24-inch box step up nothing, which I know for a lot of women typically could be a harder station due to their height.
Yeah, you can even see it there in terms of the form, right? Samantha Wood just comes onto the same box, but you can see she has to flex her hips a lot more to get each rep done compared to Morgan, just based on, the difference in leg length. And that's certainly something where more compact athletes have advantages in some areas, but a one like this where it's the same height for everybody in the field, definitely another advantage for Morgan. As we look at some of the splits there on the rower, you can see Emily Stevens with that sort of hybrid training and racing background, a solid time, but Morgan putting a pretty significant gap on everybody else, as here is 2 and 3 right now on box step overs with Samantha Wood and then Emily Stevens.
Yeah, even though Emily Stevens is an obstacle course background, she's obviously very efficient in her hybrid, training with her husband, Matt, in their gym, right? They're known for Rally in the Valley for a reason. So I know functional fitness is definitely not foreign to her, matter of just showcasing it for us to watch. And we're not sure if Morgan here maybe has a 1-lap lead on Samantha. I said 40 seconds off the rower, but it seemed like Samantha came in those boxes pretty quick once Morgan was out. So I don't think she has a 40-second gap. So I apologize for saying that earlier.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get a ballpark time on it as they come through into the next station here coming up as we get to the med ball sit-ups. But, from Samantha's point, maybe Morgan is close to a lap in front of her, and it's difficult to catch someone who's on the complete other side of the venue. But she maybe is now realizing she has an opportunity to make a statement in terms of, putting a stranglehold on second place and opening up a gap on the competitors behind her.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we mentioned with the men's field, when it comes to this races, the first few stations, most people are packed together, but it already kind of seems like the first few stations, the podium runners are already running away. So it'd be great to see Samantha Woods, of course, fight for that podium spot, potentially second place, because I'm not sure if she's podiumed a DEKA FIT race at all. So this will be a great opportunity for her to do so.
And, keep an eye on the back end of the podium because, again, even though we've seen some of the other athletes competing in other events with a little bit less recent experience in DEKA FIT, there could be an opportunity for, like we saw with Austin Tennelshoff, making up 3 or 4 spots, nearly catching 4th place in the men's field. Maybe something similar happens here in the women's as we see Morgan out already. So about 12:10 for her to leave the station. As Samantha Wood coming in. So Morgan well in front, and we'll see if we can get a time on that if we stay on her. But either way, it's at this point a pretty sizable gap, 40% into the race for Morgan Schulz.
Yeah, given that this takes maybe about a minute for Samantha, about a minute 10, minute 20. So maybe I was right about the 40-second. I didn't factor in, of course, the station time. So, yeah, Morgan's putting us away early. No surprise, of course. But good for Samantha. It's hard, hard to find yourself kind of in that medium spot because you don't want to necessarily burn a match to try to catch the person in front of you, but you have to maintain a certain effort because 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th is breathing down your neck. So it's a hard spot to be in right now. But I think if Samantha was in this position, knowing Morgan's going to be ahead of this race, don't burn any matches to try to catch her by any means. Run your race, run as if you're in first, and then try to maintain that difference between you and Emily.
And just quickly on the screen there, I think we saw Emily Stevens and Megan Gaedje. Hopefully we're saying that right. I believe neck and neck. It looked like they were in 3rd and 4th. Megan, when they had the split times up, had a 33-second split for box step over. So she certainly made a statement there. And that could be someone who maybe we see with her on the podium, as you see here, right here, Megan and Emily on station 4 at the exact same time.
All right. Yeah, this is exciting. Both first DEKA FIT for these ladies. So we don't know what to expect, which makes it exciting for us. But both of these ladies are very fit and very capable of pulling away from each other. It's just a matter of which station is it going to be, right? Typically, we'd like to say the assault bike, but it very well could be farmer carry today. I don't know.
Especially, I think, given that this is the first DEKA FIT for both of them, there's more of a chance of just, again, not necessarily knowing what it's going to feel like later on in the race, and you don't get your pacing quite right before the bike, and all of a sudden someone else can make a difference. But right now, they are close together. 3rd and 4th coming out at the exact same time, as now here Morgan Schulz well in to her ski erg station number 5.
Yeah, Morgan's got great form on the ski erg. She definitely uses her height to her advantage for that as well, too, in which she should, for all that power. Arguably, probably one of the strongest women in all of DEKA FIT, if we're talking from a pure strength standpoint. And it's going to be hard to bet against her again at the World Championships in 2024. I can't imagine her fitness has declined by any means. If anything, it's increased, and her times are just going to just get faster and faster. It's going to be exciting when a Tara, maybe a Meg Jacoby, Lauren Weeks, Lauren Griffith, whoever that may be, shows up in a later race against her. It's going to be fun to watch that.
But either way, a statement being made here by Morgan Schulz, who is essentially lapped the field at this point, approaching the halfway point of the race. Here's Samantha Wood in 2nd place. So she's kind of all on her own as well. Has to be feeling fairly confident about her ability to get on this podium, but it's difficult when you've got such a big gap in front of you, but also behind you to really stay on it. And, something that we talked about a little bit with Colin leading the men's race, there's a lot of other traffic out on the course right now, but Morgan is far and away the fastest person currently running in terms of both running ability and just in this event. And so she doesn't really have anyone to pace off of because she's going to be moving so much better than everyone else. But I think with the amount of experience she has, she'll be able to stay on it just because she knows how she needs to pace. And to your point that you made earlier, Luke, at a certain level, how you race is how you race. And there's not going to be a huge gap in terms of time. So you could see coming out of this station, she is still moving really well.
Yeah, absolutely. She's not compromised by any means right now. If anything, she's just warming up, and so I want to see with this gap, knowing that she definitely has this win in the bag. I want to see a crazy assault bike time. Why not? Just sell your soul on it. See what you could do. Go for that PR. I mean, why not? You got nothing to lose right now. And if it just doesn't happen to be that way, I think you got enough gap where you can recover on the run afterwards, and I think she knows that. So this will be pretty exciting. As you can see, she's already about halfway on her laps as Megan and Emily come in, which they are still dead even. This is exciting. Third place is going to be a battle. Let's see.
This could be setting up for a great finish here for the podium, kind of like we saw in the men's race as well with Derek Yorick hanging on.
Yeah, so Emily, I would assume they have ski ergs at their gym. I would assume she is very familiar with what a ski erg is. Megan, being a rugby player, collegiate softball player, she obviously, I think, knows what to do on the ski erg, but Emily could pull away right here knowing that she maybe has the technique down. Just seems just a little winded at the moment.
Yeah, you saw her take a breather there and just kind of go to the arms, let the machine do its work. Samantha Wood in the background, she comes out still maintaining a solid second place. There's another athlete who would be in fifth on the ski erg. Not sure who that is on the other side of the station. Then in the inset screen, you see Morgan Schulz finishing up run number 6 here momentarily.
Yeah, we don't necessarily want to count out the lady who's in fifth place right now, too, because, I mean, you just never know with Megan and Emily battling it back and forth. They can gas themselves out doing so to where this new potential face in the background could very well make a run for it. And maybe she's a back part runner as well, too. Morgan making this weight look like it's nothing, of course. I think she needs to carry the men's weight. It looks like there's still some elite men out there as well, too, which I guess, if anything, it maybe helps Morgan out a little bit because she can reel them down on a couple of runs, given that there's a couple of fast guys out there.
Yeah, she has a full lap lead and then some on Samantha Wood, because you could maybe see quickly Samantha running by on her first time through while Morgan was already about almost halfway through the farmer's carry. So maintaining the gap that she's built out as she makes quick work of station number 6.
Yep. All right, this is where I want to see it, Morgan. I know you're going to be watching this afterwards. Bring it on the bike. I want to see it. Just go all out. Try to match Bubbles. I don't care. Give it everything you got. Make it exciting for us. I don't think she's going to do it. I think she's going to pace herself like she knows how to. So I'm not a world champ, so I have no idea. I think she's more than capable of knowing what she's going to do.
Yeah, you can just see Morgan there making up gap on everyone else out there on the course right now. She ran by Emily Stevens a few seconds ago before this turn, and her stride just looks different than everyone else running. Again,
it does.
Obviously, a bit of a taller build and long legs that play to an advantage on the track, but also, if you can keep your stride open, you take advantage of that stride length and keep it rolling. As it looked like Megan has opened up a gap on Emily, as
so
right
it looks
before
like,
it cut away, Morgan was catching up to Megan, who herself was ahead of Emily. So we'll keep an eye on that as you see Megan grabbing a water bottle. Important to stay hydrated, even though it's a 30-minute race. Just making sure you do what you can as she loses the water bottle there on the run. Samantha Wood, again, all alone in second place. She'll be finishing up this station probably before Megan even comes into it. So just like Morgan in first, our second place athlete really doesn't have anyone too close ahead or behind, but has been staying on it and maintaining, if not building that gap on third.
Yeah, so Samantha's running her own race right now as well, too. I don't know what her previous PR is. She very well could be on pace for a PR for herself. So I think she's aware of that as well, and she just wants to run her race at the moment.
And there's Megan in the all black. You saw on the last shot in third place. There was another athlete running by her, moving really well. So that's clearly someone with a running background. Not sure if she was in the first heat or not. But, that's the interesting thing about hybrid racing is you've got people from sort of all different backgrounds and experience. Morgan, a collegiate runner. Megan, we talked about playing softball and now rugby. You've got all
she
kinds
picked
of
the
different...
worst bike. Morgan, that seat needs to be way higher. I can't imagine too fast of a time that she's got to be standing the whole time. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's going to burn her quads like no other.
Yeah, I think she can see it in her face right now. That
I think so, too,
the
yeah.
bikes are at all at a different height, but I think she was just so excited to get onto it that maybe she didn't realize that seat looks like it's on the very bottom notch.
Yeah.
Which, as someone who's 6'4" with long limbs, I can tell you that is not comfortable. And
No,
standing
it's
up
not.
is probably the best move for her, but that doesn't feel good either.
Yeah, I think even in this situation, she's probably still going to have the fastest bike time, or if not one of the fastest. I don't think Samantha gains anything out of this. So even though we're not going to see a Bubbles assault bike attack here, I mean, she's still going to put up a very decent time as well. And I think
you can see her changing positions, just trying to stay comfortable and maybe, have the lactic hit differently, just depending on whether she's standing up or sitting down. But her work rate is pretty consistent. But yeah, just can't be very comfortable with how low that seat is.
No, not at all. I'm sure she's feeling it for sure. And you can see in the bottom screen of your corner, or the corner there in your screen, Emily making a little bit of a room on Megan. Megan was walking out, so maybe this is where the running kind of gets a little compromised more. And this is where Emily can start making her gain. There's 4 more stations left, so the race is not over for podium by any means.
4 more stations, and the most compromising one of them all right here, as you see Morgan working through what should be her final few calories here coming up, as there she goes, finishing off 23:45, well ahead of the field, surviving the not ideal positioning, as Samantha Wood, as you can see, on a seat that definitely fits her frame a lot better than Morgan's, but she's still moving pretty well, for, again, someone who's been all alone the entire race. She stayed on it and is in a solid second place right now.
So this is what I mentioned about the men. There's Taylor Haney right there. I'm assuming he's running age group. Morgan, hold on to that guy because that's a fast stud right there. So that's somebody she could pace off of. Yeah, it seems like she lost maybe a little time on the bike to Samantha Woods, but again, not anything that's going to shake up first place or second place. Morgan's is very comfortable. She's still going to win this race, but it did seem like Samantha maybe made a little bit of a gain.
And Samantha's still well in front of third because you could see Emily run by there in the background. So she has another full lap to do before she even gets to the bike. And Samantha, you can see the effort on her face as she pushes through it. But I don't want to call it comfortable because nothing's comfortable when you're 15 cals deep into the assault bike. But in a strong second place right now as Morgan continues on her 8th run. Heading into the ball overs here coming up.
Yeah, and good for Samantha. I'll give you a quick shout out. If it's been since 2022 since you've done a DEKA, well done. Way to come back and hopefully still stay onto the podium. The race ain't over yet, but good for her. And maybe she's making a run for us at another World Championships here in this year.
Yeah, other than Morgan, one of the only other athletes in this field with DEKA FIT experience, that's certainly paying off for her as she's, understood the assignment in terms of what it was going to feel like and managing her effort, running the best race that she could. And, she has herself in second place here with Morgan continuing to run in the background.
So Megan has a pretty decent lead on Emily right now. I don't think Emily's in yet, and it's been about 20 seconds. So Megan is definitely there's Emily right there. So about 25, 30 seconds, give or take, when she gets here and sets the bike up. But, Megan didn't hit the start button. So that's great for Emily then. She basically caught up on that. Yeah,
and that's a little bit of, just maybe lack of experience first time. You see Megan moving pretty well. But, yeah, she seemed tentative at first, maybe not realizing or trying to figure out whether or not it was turned on. as Emily is maybe adjusting the seat as well, trying to get comfortable. And you see her in the foreground here. This is a battle unfolding. You know, they've been back and forth. They were together through about 4 stations, and we've had some gaps forming. And you can see the effort that they've both put out so far shown on their face. But Megan, now that she's up and running on it, is moving fairly well.
Megan looks very strong on the assault bike right now. I mean, like we said before, her toughness, I mean, I can't imagine there's anything that could put a scar on that body after playing rugby. She's very tough. I think she knows what the pain cave feels like, and she seems to be digging into this. And I think she knows, of course, having that reach on Emily at the moment for podium. So I think she wants to pull away right here on the assault bike.
Yeah, she certainly has enough in the tank to, again, adjust positioning, stand up a little bit, just use the legs differently, just trying to keep that bike moving. There's a look at the ski erg split times, and you can see that, not only is Morgan the strongest runner in the field, but she's really been able to build that lead on every station, even the ski erg, where you've got experienced athletes like Emily Stevens in terms of, hybrid training. Morgan puts 10, 15 seconds into the rest of the field.
All right, Megan pulling away. She walks out of the stations, though. Now, granted, this is her first DEKA. I'm sure she's feeling it, but that gives just a little bit more opportunity to Emily. So she knows that. But she looks fairly strong right now, and she looks like she's pretty consistent with her runs as well, too. So.
And I have to think that mentally just getting through the bike and then getting back on to the next run in your first DEKA Fit has got to be helpful. It's like, okay, maybe I've been dreading this, knowing what it was going to feel like, but I survived. I'm still in 3rd place. My legs still work. And, at this point, there's a lot of work to do. But once you get through the bike, you do see the end of the race in sight, because everything else, like obviously you've got to put out effort, especially on the tank push and pull. That's a long station, and the burpees are what they are at the end. But once you're through the bike, you can kind of start counting down. All right, I've got 3 runs left. Here are the 3 stations. Let's go. And so for Megan, look for her to maybe continue that effort and try and maintain the gap. As you see the farmer's carry, maybe the one station where there isn't as much of an opportunity, Samantha Wood with the fastest split, but only 5 seconds, the exact same time for 1st, 3rd, and 4th, as Samantha Wood, once again, all on her own here in Zone 8.
Yeah, I think it's smart for her just to stay consistent as possible, maintain 2nd, get paid, have a great showing for your first one back. I'm assuming first one back since 2022 DEKA World Championships. I think she's just smooth coasting from here. But Morgan Schulz as well, too, when she ran a 32, it doesn't look like she's going to PR because now she's on the sled, which will take roughly, I don't know, 2.5 maybe minutes. And then you still got a whole nother run in burpees. So she will be running a slower time today, but I think a lot of that is just due to the not having competition, breathing down her neck or chasing, right? Because at the World Championships, she was chasing Lauren Griffith, Tara, and that was a battle all the way through. So I think more she just wanted to come in, get this win today, and then I think we're going to be seeing some faster times from her later this year.
Just a second ago, you saw the split times for the bike there on the screen. Morgan 20 seconds faster than the field, but that 2:25 for Megan, that's a strong time, especially considering sort of the start and stop that she had at the beginning. So even with that, still put several seconds into Samantha Wood in front of her, but Emily Stevens, and that may prove to be the decisive station here, deciding this podium, as Morgan, again, the class of the field just in terms of coming up with the fastest time overall. Again, she's the only woman so far to make it to this station, and she'll probably be out of it before Samantha, or maybe Samantha will come in right at the end. But Morgan has only built on the lead that she had for this entire race, as now in the bottom of the screen you can see Megan now finding herself fairly alone in 3rd place, trying to hang on, work through these last 3 stations and 2 runs to come away with a podium in her DEKA Fit debut.
Yeah, I think for Emily, I think she needs to start worrying maybe about fourth place because those ladies, there's about 2 or 3 other ladies that were on the assault bike when Emily was finishing up there. So I'm not sure if these ladies have a lighten a match here at the end and maybe get a good push for fourth and fifth place. So Megan, though, I think does look pretty comfortable. Oh, just kidding. There's Emily right there. Oh, wow. I take back what I said. Emily must have crushed that last run then. I assume Megan is probably maybe 10 reps ahead or so. Oh, and there's fifth place right there. Wow. Wow, this race just got a lot closer than it appeared just maybe 2 minutes ago.
And this is the kind of thing that can happen in DEKA FIT, where someone who maybe wasn't really in the picture early on, they pace it right, they sort of sustain their effort, catch some people that are falling back on the field, and our fifth place athlete here is making up some ground. Now, several reps behind both third and fourth, but there's still some work to be done with two more runs and 2 more stations.
Yeah, I'm not sure who this athlete is right here in the all black, but man, has she definitely caught up to Emily and Megan as well too. So you could tell on these back 5 stations, she has been putting in just a little bit more effort, it seems.
And we should be able to tell when we get splits from this zone of who's in fifth place. As Emily comes out and Megan left several seconds in front of her. So third and fourth still maintaining their positions, but there are 2 other athletes lurking in fifth and sixth place right now.
Yeah, this is exciting. This is where, again, those no names are about to make a name for themselves today. Regardless if they end up getting third or not, fourth and fifth place is very respectful in these races. So it's good that they're showcasing that. But Morgan looks strong. This is her last run. She's going to go in. She's going to kill the burpees. Still get sub 35 potentially. Definitely not the best time by any means on her standards, but we know what she's capable of, and congrats on the win today for her.
Yeah, just like Colin Stiefer that we saw in the men's race, Morgan's stride looks very similar to how it did at the beginning of this race. It just shows where the experience and training obviously come into play as Morgan's put on a masterclass in terms of this field. I know she'll be looking for a faster time, a couple of minutes slower than her world championship victory. But as we've talked about, yes, there are other athletes on the course, but when you don't have someone, behind you or with you, pushing you in competition directly, it can be difficult in terms of pacing. And hey, this is the season opener. World Championships was just 3 months ago. Morgan has a lot of time in front of her, but this will be a strong performance. And, there's no better way to start. Ultimately, you're trying to win the race. And that's what she's done here as she finishes out these burpees. And an impressive showing from Morgan Schulz as she got now 19 burpees to go. As again, we see solid form locking out as the new standards are. So it looks like that's Margaret Tremblay, I believe, in fifth place, who we talked about. Now she seems like lost a bit of time on the wallovers, if that is her, but a strong effort to get back into the picture.
So she's a National Guard member as well, along with Megan. So maybe they train together that maybe we're not aware of as well. But she clearly is doing pretty decent on this course for the first time. So I think the other ladies should be coming to sled. Burpees. Yeah. Yeah, Megan just started the sled. I can't imagine Emily is that far behind. So this will be Morgan's second win in a row coming off the World Championships. That's technically a win streak. So regardless of maybe not getting the best time, 2-0 in your last 2 races is pretty impressive. So well done, Morgan.
And here's Samantha Wood in second place. Again, participated in World Championships in 2022. Didn't record a time last year, so back on the course and looking to earn herself some money if she finishes off these burpees. But she's been, again, all alone, just like Morgan, who finishes sub 36. A strong effort for Morgan Schulz here in the season opener, running away with it quite literally from the beginning. Gets a victory here in race 1 of the 2024 DEKA FIT season in Knoxville.
Yeah, her time of right under 36 minutes, slow to her standards, but is good for most people's best days. So Well done, Morgan. You knew what you were doing the whole time. She paced it out great. So excited to see what she is going to do this year as the returning champ and to see if she can still claim that title later this year.
Yeah, in terms of last year, 36 minutes was about 24th overall in the women's field, and that includes, world championship within that. So, Morgan can definitely cut down several minutes in a more competitive field, but a strong season opener. Ultimately, you can only race the people who are in the race with you, and she did the job in terms of, breaking it open early and continuing that effort all the way throughout.
Absolutely. Next time situation like this, go ahead and throw them in the men's field. Let's see it. She could definitely give some of the guys a run for their money. All right, so this is the battle we want to see right here. Not sure where they are on their count.
Yeah, they're all at least in the zone at the same time, but of course with 5 down and backs, there could be a gap. Emily Stevens closest to the camera, and then Megan are 3rd and 4th.
So we know Megan started first. It's just a matter of if she's still a whole push ahead, or did Emily and Margaret, caught up or not, Here's some support from our rabbits. Shout out to our rabbits, by the way, for following and giving us this amazing live feed. Yeah, there you go. And shout out to Titan 6 Actual as well, too. The old sponsorship for OCR Report. Much love to them. The sponsorship for the Rabbits apparel. Wearing the bright neon. If you're seeing them wear the bright neon stuff running around, you'll see them out there.
Let's go. Get this podium.
All right, here we go. Last run.
There's Emily Stevens getting a little bit of encouragement from our rabbits. Samantha Wood here finishing off her 2nd place performance. Just a few burpees to go, you would assume. And there it is, right about 39 minutes. Samantha Wood, a strong effort, basically all alone, just like Morgan Schulz in first. Gets it done in 2nd place. You see some words of congratulations between the two of them there as they secure the top 2 spots. As now Emily Stevens on her final run of this event.
Yeah, congrats to Samantha Wood. Way to make a comeback. I have no idea if that's a PR for her today, but nonetheless, 2nd place is 2nd place. And like you said, you can only race against the people that is given to you, and she did a great job, and she accomplished that today. Now for the battle we've been waiting for. Here we go. It's going to come down to the burpees. Does Emily have just enough experience working with stuff like this and all the burpees she has probably done in Spartan history? Can she pull it off? I think Megan is just slightly in front of her. They matched each other on the tanks, so not much of a difference there, but maybe she's making just enough of a difference on the run.
And this will be her last lap, working her way again past the zones in reverse order, and then next time she gets to zone 10, she'll be heading in for 20 Ram burpees.
All right, here we go.
So Megan into burpees first, and she's got a decent lead on Emily Stevens so far, and still running.
Yeah, I hope they didn't count that first one above the head. Oh, she's moving pretty good.
And Emily's still running, so Megan's going to be just about halfway done by the time Emily gets into this zone. So if she can sustain that effort, then she's looking at a podium in her DEKA FIT debut.
Yeah, she's looking pretty good. Great tempo. She doesn't. Well, oh no. It'd be just
it's
enough.
It's a great tempo until it's not when you get to the very end of this race, right? And I wonder if maybe now seeing Emily Stevens in her peripheral vision will give her that just a little bit extra to empty the tank and finish off this set of burpees.
Oh, man, Emily's moving so much faster, and here comes 5th, but Megan, I think, just has just enough of a gap to hold on to it.
You can see both of them sticking to the movement standards. The judges there to remind them the new ability to walk out, although neither of them had done a DEKA FIT, so this is new. But Megan, a strong performance. We talked about an unknown field and maybe someone would get on the podium. That's the case here. DEKA FIT debut earns a podium spot, a little bit of cash as well. A strong effort in what was a battle between her and Emily Stevens. So Megan comes away with third place, and you can see that she let absolutely everything out there on the course.
There's zone 11, DEKA done right there. That's exactly what you see at every finish line. She definitely gave it everything she had. Congrats to her. Well done. Way to make a name for yourself today, Megan. Beating someone that's very well known in the sport, which is Emily. Let's see if she can maintain for
counting
fourth.
It down as Emily Stevens finishes in fourth place.
All right. Congrats, Emily. Well done. For her first DEKA as well, too. And I believe that's Margaret right there.
So
wow, she flew on the burpees.
What we saw in the men's race with Austin Tennelshoff trying to hunt down Derek Yorick, we saw something similar where he just quite ran out of time, but a strong effort to pull herself back into it when third and fourth were basically by themselves for the majority of the race.
Yeah, you never know when you come into it, and it's hard for the burpees because you're not facing towards your competitor either, and they could be on the other side right behind you just knocking out those burpees at a much faster rate than you. So it's hard to put your foot off the pedal on that last station. And there's Emily with her daughter. That's always a good moment to see. Yeah, congrats to all these new faces for the women's field and the remainders. I know we got our top 5 there. As you could tell, the inexperience there. She thought it was a DEKA strong, and she was done. You got to cross the finish line. Congrats.
Fortunately, those 2 or 3 seconds won't make a big difference in the long run. But yeah, strong effort there. That was our 6th place athlete, I believe.
Yep.
So I think we're going to go ahead and pull up the leaderboard here momentarily. Take a look at today's results as we have that live tracking available. Jason Dupree behind the scenes, making all the graphics happen for us. As you see there, the men's race, Colin Stiefer getting it done. A 1-second PR, I believe, for him. 30:35 at World Championships last year, 30:34.
It's great.
I mean, that's impressive. Look at those 5K times. Colin, 1 second behind Joseph Cotto. And Derek Yorick, we expect to be the fastest runner, but just an impressive effort from Colin. He talked about, the effort he put in, seeing Joseph in the warm-up area, and that kind of flipped the switch for him. And we saw that play off. And then Austin Tennelshoff, a great job to climb his way back into it and finish just 17 seconds behind Derek Yorick out of the podium spot.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a great race. It was definitely close. It was to the wire. Is exactly what we needed for this morning as well. All these gentlemen ran amazing 5K splits. The fact that Colin and Joseph are just the same DEKA competitor. It's just Colin definitely had Joseph's number on the stations, clearly, and matched his speed on the 5K. And Colin, very much deserves this win today for that, for all the work that he's put into the stations.
And Colin talked about it's not necessarily him, gapping Joseph and ascending to the next tier. It's the two of them who have gone head-to-head in a couple of races, in Carolina last year, and then, of course, World Championship, both finishing in the middle of the pack. And now they're kind of lifting each other up. I kind of hope we see the two of them in the same race at some point later on this season. Now, obviously, Colin himself has some business to attend to trying to get into possibly a High Rocks World Championship, but for the two of them, again, they've been so similar in DEKA FIT, and Joseph maybe with a bit of the running background, Colin has made up that gap. Now maybe it's on Joseph to see, okay, how much time can I cut down on the stations while maintaining my running ability? And that might help him pull himself closer to Colin and then to the rest of the field as well when there are other guys in this race.
Yeah, and Joseph ran a whole minute slower than what he has done before in the past, so we know he's definitely capable. And I think these two gentlemen are very much going to find their way under sub 30, potentially this year, if not this year, next year, whatever that may be. These are two individuals that are, you could say, 5th through 10th place potential that can very much make a case for the World Championship podium later this year and sub 30.
And how about Derek Yorick, who we talked about as the guy that was going to set the pace early on?
Yeah.
Not only did he do that, but he hung around. It wasn't like he just blew the doors off the field and then fell back. I mean, he was in there third, fourth in that battle the entire race. Robert Killian dropped off a little bit, but Derek hung on, came away with a solid podium finish again, holding off a charging Austin Tendelshoff in the burpee area. But a strong effort from Derek all around today.
Yeah, great to have him back. He's a familiar face in the field. People know who he is. It's good to see that face again.
All right, so
there
now
she
we're
is.
joined by Morgan Schulz as the leaderboard for the men's goes away to reveal the winner of the women's race. Morgan Schulz coming off a world championship and telling the line here this morning. Obviously, you were kind of all alone for a lot of the race, but, you know, for a season opener, how did it feel for you out there today?
You know, I think, to be honest, it didn't really feel that great. I think I finished the race and I kind of felt disappointed. I was being really cognizant of my time throughout the race, and I was thinking even solo I could be low 34 today. So, I mean, I don't know. I went on a little too hard. I was going to try a different strategy than I did in the previous 2 DEKA Fits that I've done before, just try and go out from the gun and see how long I can hold on. I don't think I held on well at all, to be honest. I think right now, though, my training is geared towards high rocks. So I'm doing a lot longer things, a lot less like higher intensity, shorter duration stuff. So, I mean, to be fair and like to be transparent, I'm not like super stoked with the result today. But, you know, I've got a team's race coming up in a few hours, so I'm going to gear up for that and have some fun and then head back to Chicago later today.
Is it hard, you know, like you just talked about, we weren't sure, you know, whether it was you or the guys in the men's field this early in the season, whether it was the time or just the finishing place. So it's, you know, refreshing to hear you sort of talk openly about that time goal. Is it difficult when you're trying to go for a certain time and there's not really someone with you to keep pushing you forward and you're basically all alone lapping the field? Like, I'd imagine that it's tough to stay on it and hit splits when ultimately you know the race is most likely already over.
Yeah, I think you nailed it there. I think when I knew that, you know, I was ahead by a decent margin early on in the race, I kind of think I let myself settle mentally. So that allowed me to just kind of be comfortable with where I was at in the race. I wasn't pushing. I know I could have pushed probably a little bit harder, but to be honest, at the end, I really didn't have anything left. So, you know, I think we'll go back to the drawing board. We have minutes to take off of this to be competitive again at this year's World Championships. So, you know, I'm stoked. I'm ready to put in the work. This was a really cool venue. It was awesome to meet some new people, see some familiar faces. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
Yeah, we mentioned this before, Morgan. We know this time does not showcase your abilities whatsoever. We definitely know what you're capable of. I mean, you're the defending world champion. You're going to have a target on your back all season. Do you feel like you have a target on your back in any race that you toe the line at now? Do you feel like you are the top competitor at every race you do? Give us a little, you know, love on yourself a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think just to get a little bit of insight into my mind recently, I think I was way too nervous for this race, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I think I put that, you know, target in my own mind that I'm sure a lot of other people aren't consistently thinking about, that I'm the one to beat. But you know, it's tough. I think that was a big thing going into this race is I told myself that I should be leading and I should be winning. And if I'm not, then what's going on? So I think that played a little bit into my, I don't know, not feeling good about how I was racing today. Is I was just way too in my head. And I think that's perhaps a little bit of an excuse and a little, you know, more, I just wasn't prepared 100% properly for today. But I think that's the fun thing about races like these hybrid competitions is that they're easily measurable. So I can go back to the drawing board. I know where I faltered. Same places I faltered during Worlds. The ski erg, the sled today felt super heavy for me. The bike was not good. I think it's the latter
the
half
bike
of the race.
situation.
Yeah,
Listen,
I
the
was
bike
pretty
situation,
disappointed.
though, that you grabbed the one with a small seat. I was
And I
hoping
was
you'd
looking
throw down like a
around.
bubbles effort. Yeah, I saw that.
I
We
know.
were
I
waiting
was
for
just
you to
really
throw down on
disappointed.
that, but yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure that burns your quads a little bit as well. Well,
it
listen,
did.
Morgan, I mean, if
Yeah.
this is a bad day for you, then most people should be worried because your bad day is most people's best. So like I said, we know what you're capable of. We know what you can bring to the table. I don't think you should let that get too much to you because, I mean, you're the defending world champ for a reason. And we know exactly later this year and any other race that you do, you're going to be at the top of the field.
I appreciate that, guys. These words mean a lot, and I appreciate you guys for covering the sport so people back at home can see, people back at home can tune in, and I think big things coming for 2024.
Absolutely.
All right, well,
What's the
Morgan
next
Schulz,
race for Morgan? Sorry, Xander.
Next race, High Rocks, Anaheim in May. Try to get a last chance qualifier down, and then I'm going to go to the Fort Wayne DEKA FIT this summer. Kind of hometown-ish
Exciting.
in
Okay.
Chicago.
All right.
Yeah, so that'll be fun.
Is that your next DEKA?
Yes, my next DEKA FIT will be in Indiana. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Morgan.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I
Awesome.
appreciate it.
For sure. We'll look forward to seeing you in a couple hours for the team race and later on in the season. Best of luck at High Rocks as well. And again, congratulations
Thanks,
today.
guys.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Great to hear from both of the winners today's races, Colin Stiefer and Morgan Schulz. As now we're joined by Samantha Wood in second place. A great effort today, Samantha. Kind of like Morgan in first, you were sort of all alone for most of the race, but overall, how do you think it went for you today?
The race went really well. I've mostly been skiing this winter, and I've been in the weight room. And so Tuesday, I was at the gym actually doing a little bit of HIIT training. Some of my friends told me, they're like, "Oh, Sam, you're actually doing CrossFit today." And I said, "Well, I got a race Saturday." But I just that helped me get my pace set, and then I just stuck to the pace, and I knew I wasn't going to catch Morgan. So I was just trying to hold on a second.
Samantha, is this your first race since the DEKA FIT World Championships of 2022?
Oh my goodness, I don't want to get this wrong. I think it is. I don't remember doing DEKA. I've done a couple High Rocks in the last 2 years, but
so not necessarily first hybrid race, but first DEKA since the World Championships.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, and as far as time is concerned, is this a previous time? Is this same time that you were putting up in 2022? How did you come into this race? Did you come in more prepared than from previous times, or is this something that you're just trying to get back into routine?
I think this is a little bit more routine. I would say I'm mostly an ultra marathoner, and I do some long distance mountain biking as well. And I live in Colorado. It's really hard for me to pick the gym over the trail. I love to come to a hybrid style workout because this is a comparison that you do an ultra race. It's really hard to compare where you've been before, but DEKA FIT is awesome in that way. So I would say this is pretty close to where I should be. It might be a tad bit slower than in 2021.
Okay. Oh, 2021. I apologize. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a minute. So you're definitely a veteran to the sport then. That's for sure. You were here in the inaugural, I guess, World Championship. So that's awesome to have you back for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great time.
Now, where would you say at the race, do you feel like you have any stations that you can work on? Do you feel like it maybe you're running? Do you feel like it's more of a station thing? Where could Samantha Wood improve for later this year?
I think I'm quite a bit slower compared to the other competitors on some of the ergs. So the ski erg, the rower, and then the air bike. I don't think I'm too slow on like the box jumps, the lunges, and some of that stuff the farmers carry. I think I'm pretty quick. The sled, I'm not too bad. But I would say actually the ergs and the air bike.
Okay.
That really high intensity, full body type stuff.
You mean the worst stations in all of DEKA? Yeah, I get you. I think everybody can feel you on those.
I would describe those a lot like doing, I'm from Manitou Springs, and we have this thing called the Manitou Incline, and it's 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
And so just about anybody can do it, but it's impossible to kind of do it. Like, it's always hard, no matter how fit you are. And I just think of the ski ergs and the air bike, no matter how fit you are, it's going to bust you.
Absolutely. I
Especially
agree with
incline.
that.
Once you get up the incline, you're done with it. You do the air bike, you still have 3 runs and 3 stations left. So it's that much more
Yeah.
difficult. And I'd imagine that, it's probably, next time if whatever event you have planned next, if there are people a little bit closer to you, it's probably going to be easier to pace off them and take off some time that way. I think you definitely had, it seemed like a steady effort today, just kind of, again, sort of in your own, holding on to second place. But I would imagine that, you're probably hoping to have more people to race more directly against next time around.
Yeah, and I think like I was by myself quite a bit, and I think about the air bike. If someone had been next to me on the air bike, I think I could have pushed a little bit harder. I was just trying
For
to
sure.
keep my breakfast down.
Fair enough. Well, Samantha, congratulations. Welcome back into the DEKA FIT arena. Second place is awesome. Regardless of who you're going against or running by yourself, second place is second place, and you should sleep well tonight knowing that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Of course. Not sure if we have Megan, maybe.
Looks like we're going to have just a second here. That's the suspense of not being able to see the entire screen other than this little bit.
Hopefully soon we're going to be there in person. You look fantastic, Megan. You look beautiful. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
So third place, congratulations. Believe this was your first DEKA FIT, and you definitely stuck your nose in it early. I guess, first off, overall, sort of, how did you feel the experience went for you today?
It went well. I think I thought it would go a little bit more easier, but it definitely was a good challenge for me today. Good workout for sure.
Easier is a hard word to come by here at DEKA FIT, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Megan, at any time in the race, did you feel like Emily was going to maybe surpass you? That's, of course, who finished in fourth behind you. You guys were neck and neck the whole race. When did you feel like maybe this is my time to make my move? Or at any time did you just feel like I'm just going to run my race and hopefully Emily doesn't catch me? Walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, I think I started feeling her on the assault bike, and then I was like, okay, I just got to keep on going. I think I actually said, like, I'm tired. And then I could feel her more on the med ball overs, and definitely when the sled push, I was like, okay, I got to step it up. And then I started just driving. I play rugby, so I just kind of channel that and, just pushing and driving. So, yeah.
And so, like some other athletes in the field, we didn't know too much about you coming in. I think we had heard about, you playing rugby and having that background. But in terms of entering this race from a training perspective, in terms of strategy, knowing this was sort of your first time here, did you what was your game plan coming in? Did you sort of, I'm sure you knew what to expect in terms of what was in front of you, but what was your, I guess, as you towed the start line, what were you thinking about in terms of a plan? And then how did that go compared to the way that you thought?
Yeah, my plan was just to kind of stay at my own pace and know my level is to push each level. Trying to figure out what levels I could push my run and what times I could use that as my my break point. So I used that, and I think it was just a lot at the end. You just got to give it all you got, and it's just one more step, one more push, one more burpee, and then you get through it. So.
And I love asking collegiate athletes on this because you also played collegiate softball, correct?
I did.
Yeah. When doing that sport or rugby, like you said as well too, how would you compare DEKA FIT to other sports? Where would you put this in comparison as far as maybe the suck level, the exciting level? Is it easier? Is it harder? Is it the same mentality nonetheless?
Yeah, I think it's the same mentality. I think a lot of it is just the first time I'm individually kind of competing and pushing myself. Whereas softball and rugby, you have all your teammates to kind of support you and pick you up. And then I think with the DEKA, you just have to look for the person ahead of you, or look for the person behind you to kind of push you and make you go harder. So it's definitely more of individual and having more discipline on yourself to train and put that work in.
Absolutely.
And so this is the first time we've seen you here in DEKA FIT. I guess in terms of racing or competing, do you have any future plans throughout the course of the season? Can we expect to see you, again here in a similar event later on?
I think this qualifies me for the all guard team, so I'll definitely be at some more competitions, and then just keep me in shape, and I'll keep on pushing to better myself with this.
Absolutely, Megan.
Awesome.
Does
Well,
your training routine? Sorry, Xander. Does your
no, go ahead,
training
Luke.
routine typically involve functional fitness such as this? I mean, did you train a few months leading into this race at all?
Yeah, one of my teammates, Rob Lichardi, we signed up for like a program, and I focused a lot on like the running aspect of it, and like running days, like sprinting days, and then a lot of like your lifting and like weightlifting and practice the events with runs. So we definitely put in a lot of work for this.
That's great. That's awesome. Good to hear.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on both the race and qualifying for the all guard team. So we'll look forward to following your year, and hopefully we'll see you at a DEKA FIT or other competitions like this. But thanks again for joining us after the race.
Yes, congrats,
Thank you.
Megan.
Thank you again, guys.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, we got, I think, what we were expecting to a degree. We had a competitive men's race on every front.
I've had it on the
we
whole
have a
time.
World Championship medal being held up here by my broadcast partner, Luke Halterman. But, this was an exciting season opener for DEKA FIT. I think it was great.
I think we're about to bring up the leaderboard here.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's what I thought Jason said in the background, but couldn't quite tell. So, here's the leaderboard for the women's top 10. As we heard from all three of our top competitors, that's the great part about having the production team on site here for DEKA FIT as we get those post-race interviews. So Morgan Schulz, again, blowing away the field. Samantha Wood, again, all alone. You heard from her in terms of just she had her pace and stuck to it, felt pretty good except for some of the ergs and bikes. And then Megan coming in third place with a strong effort, qualification for the all-guard team as well. So this was a great race, and we saw some strong competition. It was actually Brianna who came in fifth, hunting down Emily Stevens, finishing within 10 seconds of fourth place. So a lot of unknowns in this field coming in, Luke, but we got a good show put on by the top of the field and some battles deeper in there, which was exciting.
That's another thing that's exciting about this sport is that, 1 year it could be all names that are super recognizable, or it could be 1 year where it's just all new names that are making a name for themselves. And that's exactly what we saw today with the women's race. A lot of names we're not familiar with, but could know later down this year. It could very well make a run for the World Championships this year. Looking forward to it.
So that was our season opener. Yeah, we'll be back on the air here in a couple of hours for the team race. We expect to see Morgan Schulz, as she talked about in that. Not sure who she's going to be running with, but we'll find out momentarily, and she'll be hungry for a stronger performance later on. So once again, this live race coverage of the 2024 DEKA Series has been a presentation of DEKA and the OCR Report. Thank you for watching, and a special shout out to Yancey Culp and the team at DEKA. You can find race results for today's race at the OCR Report Instagram at the OCR Report. Be sure to subscribe to the OCR Report YouTube channel. You can support live streams like this for less than $5 a month by becoming a member of the OCR Report through Patreon. So sign up today and support the sport you love. For Jason Dupree on site, for our Rabbits bringing us the action of these elite races, and for my broadcast partner, Luke Halterman, on the call with me, I've been Xander Keene. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you a little bit later this afternoon for the DEKA FIT team races here on the OCR Report.
See you then.